Hey everyone, this is MMS144 Group 6. Today, we're going to learn how to search a particular data or record and allow user to remove a particular data in a database. Here are the things we need to observe in deleting records. Affected records may be deleted if they are dependent on the main record. This is called weak entities. Example, deleting a bank customer may also delete the records of the accounts that customer holds. Affected records may have null or non-existent values. Example, when a bank customer is deleting, we should also be able to find other floating records that we may update or delete later. Users may delete a record mistakenly, thus, he or she should be able to undelete a particular record. The most common databases that are used in applications are SQL and MS Access. But first, we need to understand what deleting a record is. Deleting a record is a command that deletes a row in the table, rows that are no longer needed in the database, may it be a temporary or obsolete data. This function can delete more than one row in a database. The row cannot be retrieved once it got deleted. Backup is needed in order to retrieve deleted data. You cannot delete a single column. Instead, you need to delete all data in the said row. Here's how to code it. Delete from table_name function to call to delete a specific row in the database. It's important to note that the where condition function limits the rows that are affected by the command. Without this function, all rows in the said database will be deleted. So how does it work? First, we identify the specific table. Second, we double-check the rows we wanted to delete. Third, we add the code delete from table_name where condition. And fourth, we include where command to avoid deletion of the whole table. We run the query and it is now deleted. Here are some examples in deleting records using SQL database. SQL is the most common database software used in most programming languages like PHP, Python, and Visual Studio. These programs perform as workstations that allow the user to enter data and modify it. Here's a sample table. To delete a student's name from the students table, we use this code. Where is the key to find or search the student named Nicolas Moreno. Delete from deletes the particular data on the table as well as its dependent data. Here's the output. How to delete all records. Use this code to delete all rows in a table without deleting the table. In this example, we delete all records in the students table where the value of program is BAMS. To delete the whole students table or record, use this code. Null values refers to one of the conditions mentioned earlier when there are certain values or floating values that we may update or delete later. Use this to update null data. Purge is the best choice in retrieving data which has been accidentally deleted by the user. Purge removes a table or index from your recycle bin and releases all of the space associated with the data. There are certain conditions that needs to be configured for this to be possible. The database object must reside in your own schema, or you must have the sysdba system privilege. Here's the syntax. Specify the name of the table or index in the recycle bin that you want to purge. You can specify either the original user specified name or the system-generated name Oracle database assigned to the object when it was dropped. If you specify the user specified name, and if the recycle bin contains more than one object of that name, then the database purges the object that has been in the recycle bin the longest. System-generated recycle bin object names are unique. Therefore, if you specify the system-generated name, then the database purges that specified object. When the database purges a table, all table partitions, LOBs and LOB partitions, indexes, and other dependent objects of the table are also purged. Recycle bin. Here's the syntax. Purges all recycled segments for that user. This clause is valid only if you have sysdba system privilege. It lets you remove all objects from the system-wide recycle bin and is equivalent to purging the recycle bin of every user. Here's the syntax. Use this clause to purge all the objects residing in the specified table space from the recycle bin. Here's the syntax. This is to reclaim space in a table space for a specified user. This operation is useful when a particular user is running low on disk quota for the specified table space. Microsoft Access. It is a data management system by Microsoft and is also included in the Microsoft Office suite. Microsoft Access stores data in its own format based on the Microsoft database engine. It can also import or link directly to data stored in other applications and database. MS Access is easier to use as it is also front-end. The user can do wizard if he or she doesn't want to undergo through the strain of learning queries. MS Access is best for small business owners. MS Access 2013 enables users to work with web databases, which includes the complexities of designing and building a web database. You can delete the data in individual fields when you have tables or queries open in Datasheet view and when you have data entry forms open in Form and Layout views. In the navigation pane, double-click the table or query that you want to use. This opens the table or query in Datasheet view. Select the data that you want to delete. You can highlight part or all of the data, or just position the cursor in the field. If you select all of the data in the field, press Delete. Or, on the Home tab in the Records group, click Delete. Or, if you place the cursor in the field, press Delete or Backspace as needed. By design, you cannot delete data from some types of queries. For example, you cannot edit the data returned by a cross-tab query, and you cannot edit or remove calculated fields, values that a formula calculates as you use your database, but that do not reside in the table. If your form is based on a query that can't delete data, you won't be able to delete data from the form. You do not have the necessary permissions to delete data. Contact your system administrator or database designer. The field does not accept blank or null values. If you have the necessary permissions, open the table in Design View and then change the required table property from yes to no. You can delete data from two types of lists, value lists and lookup lists. Value lists display a set of predefined values, values that you or the database designer enter manually. In contrast, lookup lists use a query to retrieve values from another table or another query, and those returned values then populate the list. In the upper section of the design grid, select the table field that contains the value list. In the lower section of the grid, click the Lookup tab, and then locate the row source property. By default, double quotation marks surround the items in a value list, and semicolons separate each item. As needed, remove the items from the list. Remember to delete the quotation marks that surround each deleted item. Also, do not leave a leading semicolon. Do not leave pairs of semicolons together. And if you remove the last item in the list, delete the final semicolon. In the navigation pane, right-click the table that you want to change and click Design View on the shortcut menu. In the upper section of the design grid, select the Lookup field. In the lower section of the design grid, click the Lookup tab and locate the row source type and row source properties. The row source type property should display table or query, and the row source property must contain a query that references a table or another query. Note: queries for lookup fields always begin with the word select. Typically, but not always, a select query uses this basic syntax. In this case, the query contains two clauses. The first clause refers to a table and to a field in that table. Conversely, the second clause refers only to the table. A point to remember: the from clause will always tell you the name of the source table or query. Select clauses may not always contain the name of a table or a query, although they always contain the name of at least one field. However, all from clauses must refer to a table or query. When you delete whole records from a database, you delete the data in each field, and you also delete the key value, the value that makes the record unique. If the record is not related to any other records, that is, if the key value does not reside in any other records or tables in the database, you can delete the record by selecting it and pressing delete. In Datasheet view, open the table or query that contains the data that you want to delete. Locate the record that you want to delete, and then click the Select All button, the square located at the left or right end of the record. You can select individual rows, or click and drag to select a contiguous set of rows, or press Ctrl and click the mouse button to select multiple non-contiguous rows. Access places a border around the entire record, or block of selected records. Press Delete, or on the Home tab in the Records group, click Delete, or right-click the Select All button and click Delete Record. If you can't click the Select All button, position the cursor in a field in the record. Then, on the Home tab in the Records group, click the down arrow next to Delete and click Delete Record. When Access prompts you to confirm a deletion, click Yes. When you use the delete query to remove data, you follow the same process for both unrelated and related records. You first create a select query, then ensure that it returns only the records that you want to delete, and finally convert the select query into a delete query. Plan the deletion. Make sure that you have the necessary permissions to delete the data. Ensure that all other users have closed any objects that use the affected tables, and then back up the database. Change the relationship between the tables involved in that deletion. Specifically, you enable the referential integrity and cascade delete related records options. This allows your deletion to cascade through all affected tables and remove all related data. Create a select query, and then add criteria as needed until the query returns the correct set of records. Convert the select query to a delete query, and then use it to delete the data.